Hello, good evening, and welcome back. Parliament suspension. Queen approves Prime Minister's plan, and it's about time. He's been hoping for a prorogation for a little while now. And the idea of this is that it should happen about every year. The idea being, let's exclude the summer recess, and it's a time for MPs to recuperate from the House of Commons. They can still talk amongst themselves, they can talk about whatever they want, they can have meetings, they can hold votes, but it has absolutely no legislative power at all. So if they decide to take this time away to meet, for example, Corbyn with Labour and the Lib Dems, I'm sure they can come to some sort of agreement in order to plot their movement going forward, then they can do so. And at this point, I would like to apologise for the background noise, but my internet connection has gone down, so in order to keep up the daily uploads, I'm currently in a pub. Because that's where we're at now. That's what the budget allows. I've had terrible problems with phones recently. Anyway, let's read on. Parliament will be suspended just days after MPs return to work in September and only a few weeks before the Brexit deadline. Boris Johnson said a Queen's speech would take place after the suspension on 14th of October to outline his very exciting agenda. The main thrust of his argument is to say it's been going on since the referendum. It's been going on, oh no, not quite, sorry. It's been going on for just over 2 years, since June 2017, not June 2016, June 24th, of course, Independence Day, as Farage put it. And normally it happens every year, the longest being convention 50 days, but this has gone on for longer. And therefore it's about time. And he's saying that this has been going on for long enough that if anything was to be done about Brexit, it would have happened by now, but it hasn't. There have been other things that have just been going along in order to take up time, and we should be able to get back to the more important things. So we're going to take this break so people can recalibrate their sensitivities, I still love that phrase, and decide what they want to move forward with in order to push forward his dude agenda. Don't forget, energize, otherwise it's just a dud. But of course Corbyn complained, because that's all he's good for. He said suspending Parliament is not acceptable, it is not on. What the Prime Minister is doing is a smash and grab on our democracy to force through a no deal. He said, and you might have remembered before that my view was, yeah, this seems to be undemocratic considering that the circumstances that you're just trying to silence your opposition. But given that they have had so long and that a prorogation is usual to happen every year and it's been going on for so long, I think it's reasonable. But I'm very much on the fence on this. But nonetheless, seeing as Corbyn has no solutions, only problems, and his possible solutions are socialist, which create more problems, I'm just glad he doesn't get to implement his policies, because he would ruin the country. But he's always seems to be against the UK on any historical event. The IRA springs to mind. That's the main one, that he was supporting them instead of the UK. He does not like England, as far as I can tell. He does not like Britain, as far as I can tell. So I'm glad he's not responsible or accountable. But let's read on what the complainer Corbyn said. He said, when MPs return to the Commons next Tuesday, the first thing we'll do is attempt legislation to prevent what the Prime Minister is doing, followed by a vote of no confidence at some point. You can't do it. Sorry. What the Queen says goes. We are still under a monarchy, and I think that the Queen is amazing, personally. Big fan. But nonetheless, they'll protest, because what are you supposed to do when you're middle class in London? You've got to protest the government. Bloody hell. Because you're not going to be working, are you? No, of course not. So protesters gathered, and because we have black women at the front here, who you could easily say look angry, but no, of course not, because it's the BBC. So the atmosphere was peaceful and lively, because of course, if we saw white men here, maybe it's the EDL or so on, they're clearly angry and looking for a fight. But the BBC is impartial, as we know, definitely. Stop paying the license fee. Revoke the license fee. But nonetheless, let's read on. It has now been approved, allowing the government to suspend Parliament no earlier than Monday 9th of September and no later than Thursday 12th of September until Monday 14th of October, which is a lot longer than normal. Jacob Rees-Mogg said it was a completely proper constitutional procedure. Mr Johnson said suggestions the suspension was motivated by a desire to force through a no deal were completely untrue. I disagree. I think there's definitely a part of it there. But he's saying we need new legislation. We've got to be bringing forward new and important bills, and that's why we're going to have a Queen's speech. And he's saying there will still be ample time for MPs to debate the UK's departure. They can't. They won't. So we're saying, like, could the Queen have said no? No, she couldn't. Um, and we've got the Brexit calendar here after they return from their summer recess, as one holiday isn't enough. I'm of the mindset that if you know what day it is, you're not working hard enough. But never mind. I suppose when you're doing something every day, it doesn't matter, does it? Just what day is it today? Work day. Oh, okay, fair enough. They're saying because people are trying to strike it down, it's not possible to mount a legal challenge to the Queen's exercise of the personal prerogative powers. But anti-Brexit campaigner Gina Miller, who previously won a legal battle against ministers over Article 50, has made a judicial review application to the courts about Mr Johnson's decision. She told the BBC's Clive Coleman, if the intention of using this prorogation and the effect is that it limits Parliament's sovereignty, then we believe that's illegal and unconstitutional. Intriguing that they bring up sovereignty, considering they want to be part of the EU and they don't care about sovereignty. But nonetheless, it's just the whole pick and choose thing, isn't it? Now they're saying that it's been a very long time compared to other years since prorogation. For example, we have the letter here. I will read through this just because I think it's good to capitalise what Boris Johnson is trying to gain. So, dear colleague, I hope that you had an enjoyable and productive summer recess with the opportunity for some rest ahead of the return of the House. I wanted to take this opportunity to update you on the government's plans for its business in Parliament. As you know, for some time, parliamentary business has been sparse. The current session has lasted more than 340 days and needs to be brought to a close. In almost 400 years, only the 2010-2012 session comes close to 250 days. Bills have been introduced, which, while worthy in their own right, have at times seemed more about filling time in both the Commons and the Lords, while key Brexit legislation has been held back to ensure it can still be considered for carryover into a second session. This cannot continue. I therefore intend to bring forward a new, bold and ambitious domestic legislative agenda for the renewal of our country after Brexit. There will be a significant Brexit legislative programme to get through, but there should be no excuse for a lack of ambition. We will help the NHS fight violent crime, invest in infrastructure and science, and cut the cost of living. They're very right-wing to me, personally. NHS, that's left-wing. Investing in infrastructure and science, any governmental investing, so tax, is left-wing. But I suppose it depends where you put the centre position. Most people think they're centrist anyway, so who knows there. So I also like the fact that he's saying that a lot of the things have been just about filling time. I can't move that, okay. About filling time in both the Commons and the Lords. Yes, that's also why I'm for a smaller government, so we just focus on the important things. Yes, so people have said it's utterly scandalous. Yeah, same old, same old. Scotland doesn't like it, but she can fuck off.